everyone, and good morning. I am Meltem Demirors, and I'm so excited to be here with you today for a really interesting session. I know this is a Financial Innovation Summit, and you may be asking yourselves, what are two DJs doing at a Financial Innovation Summit? Well, we're going to find out. So I am the Chief Strategy Officer of CoinShares. We're a publicly listed company, and we manage $7 billion in assets across the platform of exchange-traded products. We have a trading arm that engages in electronic trading, electronic market making, and I have the most fun job. I focus on our investment portfolio, including venture investments and principal investments, M&A, research, and I also get to figure out what's going to happen in the next decade and how to position CoinShares around that change. So on my journey of meeting some of the most interesting people working in the crypto space, I've had the great joy of meeting these two fine humans. We have with us Blondish, who is an incredible DJ who I've been a fan of for a very long time. And I learned only recently that she's also a prolific crypto investor and someone who's been building her own platform in the crypto space. In addition, we have Andre, who's part of RAC. He's also an incredible DJ and someone who has also been using this technology in really unique and novel ways, not only for his own brand, but he's actually now building a business that he's fundraised for and is doing a lot of really interesting things with DAOs and larger groups of investors. I will also add a disclosure. The three of us are actually in a DAO, or a decentralized autonomous organization, together. It is called Dow Jones, or DAO Jones, is a fun little play on words. And so we've really enjoyed going through the process of investing in the crypto space together through this really fun collective of humans that we've assembled. So Blondish, Andre, so excited to have you both here. I think what we want to start with is really learning more about you and how you first heard about cryptocurrencies. What year was it? What were you doing? What was going on in your career? And what you've been up to since then, leading up to this moment, which is a huge week for the creative space. It's NFT NYC week. There's a lot going on with creatives, a lot of energy. So give us a quick overview. Blondish, I'll start with you and your beautiful top bun.
Yeah, for sure. Just to give everyone a little background, I'm Blondish. I'm a DJ, producer. I'm really passionate about environmental activism, serial collaborator, and a straight DJ when it comes to crypto. Since a young age, I've been really into music, thanks to my parents and zeros and ones. I have a major in computer science from McGill. And finally, my worlds are colliding. My passions of music and crypto, they're at the forefront now, and I'm just exploring this intersection. And honestly, I'm here because I'm not happy with the current systems we have in place. I never felt like I fit into them. So naturally, I'm here to help, make starving artists a thing of the past, and also, just to lead humanity closer to freedom, abundance, and freedom, abundance, and happiness. And crypto is kind of a gateway to that. With all the secrets of DAOs and Web 3.0 and culture and all that convergence. There's a lot of beautiful stuff there.
I'm going to talk a little more, though. When did it first click for you? Like, was it Bitcoin? Was it Ethereum? What specifically was it that you saw that made everything click? Because I think everyone has that aha moment. So I'd love to know what that was for you.
The aha moment was when it was in 2017. I was actually, I had a friend in Barcelona who was just like, he basically took me through everything, like how to do it. It's like there's a big kind of learning curve to kind of get into the crypto space. But when you get into it, then you kind of go different rabbit holes. And the aha moment was, I don't know, I guess I was with a bunch of women in LA, and they were going to be block producers on EOS. And they kind of asked me to be in there, and just seeing how rich the community was then, I was like, wow, I felt like I fit in, and that's kind of when everything just changed.
I love that. I actually think that group was called Shios. They were a group of all women who were one of the big block producers in the EOS network and really active in its governance. That's fascinating. I think that definitely resonates with me as well. I started in Bitcoin in 2013, but I think the moment where a lot of different things came together for me was being in a physical room with a bunch of people who were like me. I was like, wow, these are my people. We all get it. Amazing. Andre, let's move over to you. I'd love to hear, how did you get into this crazy wild world of crypto? What was your sort of gateway or aha moment? And what have you been up to? I feel like you've been doing some really strange, interesting things. I'm always hearing about things you're doing just through the ether.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm stoked to be here. Like Blondish, I have a bit of a background in computer science, so I've always been interested in this technology, and I always felt that I can see sort of a long string or a long thread, even dating back to like the Napster era and like BitTorrent and like all these technologies, decentralized technologies sort of emerging, so that musicians like myself could use them. So I've been sort of following this thread for a long time. I think my aha moment with Bitcoin was maybe like late 2016. I was sort of in between albums. I think I was maybe a little bit bored, had more time on my hands, and I was like, okay, well, let me finally dig into this. I've been hearing about it for so many years. I understand the technological side of it. Is like, what does this mean on a cultural level? Like, what does this mean for the music industry? It doesn't mean anything. I don't know. Is it just an internet currency? So that eventually led me to stumble on, probably through the YouTube algorithm, recommended me a video by Vitalik Buterin talking about Ethereum. And I sort of look back on that moment as sort of a very pivotal change for me, where it was like, oh my God, this could be everything. This, it could either be nothing or everything, and it's not in between. So that was a very big moment for me, and that was a big year for me. Like, I won awards, like it was the whole thing. Like, I was traveling everywhere, but like this kind of like solidified something in me, and I became obsessed with it. I read everything, kind of like, we always talk about like going down that rabbit hole. I went down that rabbit hole and and never really looked back. So just briefly, I've sort of been playing around with this technology ever since. I mean, since I think early 2017, I had an album coming out at that time. So we actually had the first album on Ethereum. We had a little smart contract that if you deposited X amount of Ether, you'd get like a zip file sent to you. It was like something very simple like that. But the idea was really powerful, and I think, we'll probably get into like some of the problems in the music industry and like how we're trying to solve them. But, for that direct to fan interaction is so incredibly important, and being able to own that and bypass all this sort of distribution layer problems that we have was very symbolic and really important. So that's sort of been the genesis of a lot of things I've been working on, and always in the spirit of experimentation. I see it not as purely just a financial play. Like, I really see this as being sort of being able to change the underlying foundation of like how we interact on the internet, and how especially the music industry works on the back end, in terms of royalty payments, in terms of like attribution, provenance, like all these sort of issues that we're dealing now with NFTs. And maybe NFTs are sort of that ultimate solution, but this was something that was like very dear to me, and something that I had seen as a major problem. So I was like, I became sort of hyper focused on this, and have experimented with a lot of projects, like from social tokens. I have my own social token. Whether that's we had the most, we basically created a Uniswap pool for a physical cassette tape, and through market dynamics, we basically had the most expensive cassette tape of all time, beating Prince. So I feel incredibly proud of that experiment. Which is
I don't even know how to play a cassette tape anymore. So hopefully the world's most expensive cassette tape comes with a player of some kind. Or
It's funny because it doesn't, and we can get into this, but what's the most fascinating part of it is that it was really just a token, and people only wanted to hold the token. And when given the option of redeeming, 70% of people didn't even redeem it. They just held the token. They'd rather have the digital item than the actual physical item. So we have we have a bunch of unredeemed tokens or cassettes that just haven't been redeemed. People would rather have the thing, the ERC.
We're diving really deep. I want to stop for a second and sort of bring us back up. So first of all, I want to note that this panel is truly phenomenal because here I am, I'm supposed to be the cryptocurrency expert, yet I don't have a computer science degree. I have a math and economics degree. And here I have two DJs who are computer scientists and engineers. So I just think it's absolutely incredible. And it's been amazing watching both of you as well, just being absolute leaders in your field. And I think, again, really pushing the envelope of what's possible. So this panel is called From Creators to Owners, and it's about the creator economy. And I think, Blondish, you made a really great comment. You said we want to get rid of the starving artist. And I think one thing that a lot of people don't understand or maybe don't appreciate that we talk a lot about in my business, which is a financial services business, is how distribution models are changing due to the changes in how people consume content, right? I remember being a teenager and I would go to the store and I would go to the CD section. And the only things I would really see, right, pre-internet were whatever was on sale in that section or whatever was on Billboard or MTV or VH1. Then the internet came along and I was a huge user of LimeWire and Kazaa and BitTorrent generally. And I started getting exposed to a lot of different music and my taste broadened a lot. And due to that model, right, with piracy, we shifted to the streaming model, which is now the prevalent model. But I think the economics of that model have been really challenging for artists. I know, Blondish, you tour a lot. I know a lot of artists have to tour quite a bit because it's not really so easy to make money off of plays. I'd love to hear a little bit about how this shift in monetization, how you've been using it to sort of help your business grow, help your brand grow as a creator, and how it's changing how you engage with your fans, but also how you engage with other artists that you collaborate with. Because I know, Blondish, you've been absolutely so prolific in bringing other artists up and giving them a piece of your platform and letting them, speak to your audience. So maybe we'll start with you, Andre, and then go to you, Blondish. Talk a little bit about how the economics are changing and how you're using this to evolve the business of music.
Yeah, absolutely. So, people talk about piracy as this really negative thing, but piracy is really just a side effect of the music industry completely royally fumbling the move to the internet. Piracy existed. Yeah, sure. Of course, people want free music, but I think a lot of people, myself included, Napster, would be willing to pay for it. It was just more convenient. I mean, it was just better than going down to the shop and buying a CD, like you said. So, even Spotify, to some extent, is still a reaction to that one very bad decision that the music industry made in 2001. So, once the financial side of just so people know also that the streaming model currently, as it stands, if you're an independent artist, you make about $4,000 per million plays. So think about the level of sort of mass scale that you need to reach to make a decent living. It's kind of incredible. So and it's quite challenging. So I think that pricing model doesn't really make sense, and it really tends to favor the people at the top or the people with the power. You were talking about people or like when you went to a store and there was a display. Those people that control that display are still very powerful in the music industry. So we're trying to the leveling of the playing field is still ongoing, but that pricing model is still very challenging. So there's a lot of ways that this could go, but that's sort of like the underlying problem we're trying to solve at the moment.
And you've built a platform as well, right, to do this. So tell us a little bit about the platform you've worked on, Andre. I don't know what what insight you can give us, but we'd love to hear just a tiny bit about that. And then Blondish, definitely want to hear about your platform as well.
Well, I think it's what we're sort of trying to create is basically be our own ecosystem, at a very high level. We're just trying to, sort of control our interactions with our fans and not go through so many intermediaries. And there's a time and place for those people. I don't think it's always, especially in crypto, there's a lot of like anger towards intermediaries, but sometimes they provide a good service, but sometimes they take too much. So it's sort of like somewhere in the middle where at least I have sort of the power to control that, and I think fans definitely appreciate that interaction. And when you do it on a smaller scale, and I think I'm the first to recognize that I'm not like a massive artist. I'm certainly successful, but not like on the level of some other people. So like a very the way the economics work, a very small fan base, active fan base can actually be far more sustaining than the Spotify model where you need to reach millions and millions and millions of people. So, you can probably, make a very good living off of 1,000, maybe 2,000, 3,000 people, which is a lot more manageable and a lot more easier, like on a human level to like interact people. So, that's sort of a broad overview of like kind of what we're trying to do. I'm very curious, Blondish, like what your take is.
I mean, yeah, you said a lot there. It's about, removing the gatekeepers just so that we can have more freedom to be creative. You know what I mean? When we're only getting a small piece of the pie, or when artists are only getting a small piece of the pie, it also affects creativity. You know what I mean? Because you don't feel that freedom. So you said a lot with that Spotify stuff. And I'm moving towards my own social token as well, because I can see that, I want to go always back to the cyclical laws of nature. And the whole fandom experience was kind of one-sided. People can like your posts, they can buy your music, but what is the fan getting other than consumption? So it's about how do you get that feedback loop to go, to start like that. So through a social token, you can deeply engage with your fans, and they're not even your fans anymore. They become your community and your family, because you are all kind of invested into this. It's a currency, it's energy, right, of an ecosystem. So I'm going to do that through Ish. I'm going to launch it with a social token issuance platform called Pools. It's like a protocol built on top of Ethereum. And they've figured out, it's like an AMM, but like an automatic market maker. And they've also figured out ways to use DeFi. So now when you have liquid ownership in your favorite artist, you can also add layers of DeFi onto that and open finance to kind of even grow the value even more. So I'm just going to give a bunch of utility and use cases to this token, because there's everything I do is about energy, right? So energy around music, energy around crypto, and all this knowledge that we're learning to share this with the community, and also around wellness, because we also have to be closer to ourselves and learn about ourselves to really show up and live our truth in this next phase.
I want to touch on something you said, because I think you said it so well. What I think is really cool is when I first got into crypto, it was all about finance and tech, and it was a lot of engineers and a lot of finance people. And it's so funny. I've always said, like, I'm not cool at all, but I love music. I've been to both of your shows, and actually I was a huge Blondish fan. I fangirled over you, Blondish. So when I met you, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. But one of the things I think is so interesting is culture has always been a very viable form of currency. We just haven't really had a way to value it. And what I think is so cool with what's happening now in the NFT space, and we had another panel before this about NFTs and artists making, physical and digital art. Now we're talking about music. You talked about energy, Viv. Like, this is very real, but we haven't been able to attach financial value to culture. And what I love about what we're doing now is we're turning culture into currency, the actual currency, and we're making it financialized, enabling people to lend it out. There's a really cool new protocol that allows people to leverage their social reputation to obtain leverage. So imagine using, your catalog as collateral to obtain leverage so that you can build something. Imagine, crowdfunding a show. Imagine crowdfunding an album. Like, there are all of these new things that now become possible. And as you said, alternative. Like, it's a really interesting model for me as a consumer of what both of you create. Historically, I haven't had any relationship with you, right? I go on SoundCloud or whatever platform, I listen to your sets, but unless I'm on social media and somehow, we're connected, there's nowhere for me to engage. But I think this really cool thing is emerging where your fans and your listeners, and as you said, Andre, right, like Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports, he said, just find 100 crazy people who will buy a t-shirt from you. Like, start there. And there are hundreds, if not hundreds of thousands of crazy people out there who will buy cassette tapes as digital tokens, or they'll buy your creator token. So I really do think there's this really amazing opportunity for us to bring capital and culture closer together in a way that actually makes it much easier for people to co-create with you, right? Because when you DJ a set, it's not you playing to an audience, it's you creating energy with that audience. And now you get to do that outside of your shows as well, which I think is so fun for me as a consumer of what you create. Blondish, did your thoughts back to you?
No, but you said so much stuff that I want to touch on. But now, yes, exactly. And now you can align that energy around the token that has value, and you guys can keep creating with it. And I mean, just a little story. I mean, now that culture and community is now a tradable asset, a very hot tradable asset, and it will be much more in the future. It's just like institutional. I'm sitting on fun calls. I'm a musician, I'm a DJ and a DJ, but institutional investors are calling creators to understand what is the future of art, because art and finance is now colliding, you know what I mean? And we're at the center of it. And they want to understand what's the pulse on the market from us. And also these investors and different infrastructure, people that are products that are being built on top of blockchain, they understand they need creators in their investment, in their investment side, because they bring the culture and, the authenticity and a just different perspective. So they're actually keeping allocations for creators, which is, I find it incredible.
We were joking about this last night. I was at a dinner with a lot of artists, and they were saying, when artists get together, they talk about money, they talk about capital. And when capitalists or finance people get together, we talk about art. So it's funny that we're now meeting in the middle. But we have just a few minutes left. And since you are both so plugged in and you're building this new world and this new market, let's give our audience, as we say in the crypto community, a little bit of alpha. As an investment theme, where are you allocating your capital? What do you think has a lot of promise? Are you investing in specific creator tokens and technology platforms? Like, what's a way that you might express this investment theme? And I'll start with you, Blondish. I know you mentioned a few ideas already, and you and I have co-invested together a bit. Let's start with you, and then Andre will end with you.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I jump between NFTs and DeFi. I'm really exploring DeFi 3.0. I really I'm deep into understanding how to play with tokenomics. I really love that game. But I mean, not to the Mark Zuckerberg thing. I mean, the metaverse stuff has jumped big time. But I think if you haven't jumped on that right now, maybe wait a little bit, because it's gone up 300%. But I'm going deep on gaming, crypto gaming, for sure.
So my investment thesis is kind of all over the place too. I tend to focus more on the platform level or on the protocol level. So I've invested in Zora, OpenSea, some of the underlying stuff. I mean, every once in a while, I'll take a small bet on something, that maybe would be categorized as degen. But
Shiba,
but that's
too early.
I did sell too early. I bought Shiba in January of this year, and I bought way too much, and I sold it for a measly profit. But anyway, I'm not a trader. I'm really not that kind of thing. So I tend to focus on more platform level stuff. Anything that it's the classic example of in a gold rush you sell the picks. So I tend to do that. I'm kind of really all over the place in terms of that. But with social tokens, I tend to invest in my friends and people that I know, something I have a very tangible connection to. I think that it just from an investment perspective too, it gives me more insight into what they're thinking, And I mean, there's maybe a downside to that. It can give you some blinders sometimes, but I tend to keep it close, and focus on stuff in my immediate vicinity.
Well, there you have it. This is some of the best alpha I think we're going to get throughout this whole event. I'm so grateful to both of you during this very crazy, very busy week for people at the intersection of culture and capital, that you've made time to be here with us today. It was such a pleasure to hear from both of you. I am always learning new things from both of you. I've been so inspired by your music, and now the opportunity to work together and invest in things and build this new world together has been really exciting as well, to be able to capitalize platforms that we believe in, to invest in creators we believe in, and to do that together has just been such a joy. If you don't follow these two on Twitter or Instagram, they're both very active on social media. I highly recommend it. I think you will get a lot of value out of their insights and what they're sharing with their audience. And also, as they drop new projects, new tokens, you will have a first look at what these two amazing humans are doing. Thank you so much. And I hope to chat with both of you again very soon.